not January 1st, 2000. But right now, the final game of the grand final reset, potentially the final game, has begun with one e4. Will we get a repeat of the French? No, we will get a Sicilian from Wesley So and a mainline Najdorf. Exactly what the doctor ordered.
Wow. I didn't predict this one. Firstly, Wesley switching up openings when the French defense went so well last time. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yeah, okay. Maxime Vachier-Lagrave not playing anything quiet with bishop b5 checks, going straight down the main line. This is extremely aggressive, really ambitious stuff from Vachier-Lagrave. But often, Danya, the most attacking lines, there might be kind of exit ramps where you're able to force a draw with some repetitions. And if you've prepped everything, if you know exactly what's going on, g4, one of the main moves here, then yeah, why not stick to what you know best? This is what we expected from Vachier-Lagrave.
Yeah, this is one of the most misunderstood openings because a lot of people might be looking at this and saying, first of all, there's a mistake. MVL is actually black. No, he's actually playing this from the white side. Normally, we're used to seeing him playing the Najdorf from the black side. But Wesley also has been a Najdorf player throughout his career. The other thing, David, as you pointed out, the exit ramps. This line, as combative as it is, it's also incredibly well studied. And when a line is well studied, no matter how sharp the opening, you're going to get your fair share of forced drawing lines. And so if you know this very well from the white perspective and you need to make a draw, this is exactly the line that I would recommend. The more forcing the line, the higher the probability that you're going down one of those exit ramps. But you see MVL taking his time deciding between the two main moves. G4 is the most popular move, but bishop to D3 is a full-fledged alternative. And now H6, the move recommended by Anish Giri in his Chessable course. Now H4, knight to B6 is the topical line. The old line is G5 in this position, but that is not a very good move. Yeah, G5, bishop takes D4, rook takes D4, and queen to C5 is the Giri variation.
Wow. I mean, you've clearly studied this, Danya. I'm way beyond my remit here, but how deeply do you think the players have studied? Is this just the beginning?
This is just the beginning. Now, when Anish recommended this line, I want to say about 2 years ago in his course, this was not very well known. Since then, and this is a new type of development of opening theory. It's published in a Chessable course. Everybody studies it for a couple of months, and then the theory only begins. Where the file tends to end. There's a couple of interesting tactical traps here to be aware of. I think rook to d2 is all of the rage these days, and it's on the board. And one of the ideas of that move is that after h takes g5, f takes g5, David, if you could very quickly show, there's an idea where if the white rook is on d3, black has this trap sometimes to play rook takes h4 and queen takes g5. Not immediately, obviously, because of queen f4, but this shuts down any potential ideas related to rook takes h4. That's all I know. At this point, my own theoretical knowledge, my pitiful theoretical knowledge ends, and I think MVL's theoretical knowledge is only beginning.
Yeah, so tactics in that variation, he's actually put the rook on d2 and now played king b1, slow playing it. Is this, I mean, it looks like standard fare to me, but is this just asking black the question? Do you castle queenside? Do you post up your bishop on c6 first?
Yeah.
What should both sides be aiming for here, Danya?
Well, online, I tend to play bishop c6 automatically because it does look like a really good move. You play bishop c6 and you prepare d5. But there's a host of problems that await you. For example, bishop c6 is sometimes met with a3, and white already threatens to trap the queen with b4. I've lost a ton of games like this. The other big move here is rook h3. Sometimes you see the rook joining the battle laterally from h3 to c3. But I think MVL is taking a more conventional approach, just bishop d3, rook h to d1. And let's not forget, he is satisfied with a draw. So I'm really, really worried here for Wesley because you can play bishop c6 and d5, but generally that just leads to a major liquidation, and that's not satisfactory. That's not adequate. If you're playing black, you need to find a way to spin up complications and actually win this game. How are you going to do that? H takes g5. There's our answer. And takes in queen e3.
Yeah. What's he intend to do there? Has he just blunted a pawn?
FG is the automatic response in this position for white. And as, again, just incredibly sloppy. Queen e3, queen h2. Can you get away with that move?
Ooh, looks shaky. There's knight a4 ideas there. Oh, I guess white's knight drops back to d1. Oof. He's holding, but he's not doing it the
Again,
easy way.
why is MVL rushing through these critical decisions? H takes g5. You have to decide what you're recapturing with. And, his instant play has served him incredibly well throughout his career, but it's also cost him a couple of critical games in this match as well. So queen e3. And I think Wesley fans can start to get a little bit hopeful here. This is what he wanted.
I just spotted a crazy tactic, Danya. I'm just going to rewind and jump in for 1 second. Maybe Wesley, with a bit more time, is knight a4 a thing? Because now if knight takes a4, I wonder whether queen e3... Just
knight
same
b6,
idea. Just
knight b6, king c7. Are you kidding me? David, you have outdone yourself yet again.
But
that's incredible.
This is winning for black, or at least better for black, maybe, because you're hitting this rook and back rank issues for the white king. So I'm just using the same idea, but in a different order that the players actually got in the game. And wow, Daniel, after queen e3, he didn't play queen h2 defending both pawn and rook. He instead retreated with rook to d1.
That is a money move by MVL, and I think queen f4, queen g1 might be at least part of the problem, hitting the knight on b6 and setting up the threat of rook f1 and rook takes f7. I think this was overlooked by Wesley. It was certainly overlooked by one Daniel Naroditsky, who likes to act as an armchair quarterback, a backseat general. But right now, it's general mastery by MVL. Rook to d1. What a move. It's a move that we tend to take for granted. Oh, of course he played rook d1. But seeing these small details, as you see Wesley, I think, just kind of grabbing his head in frustration. Now queen to g1 would trade the queens, though I'm not sure that that's what MVL necessarily wants. But David, I wouldn't be able to resist the move queen to g1 if all I needed was just a draw.
Yeah, it looks tempting to get the queens off. That being said, when the queens do depart from the board, black is able to take the h-file, maybe some entry points. So yeah, still looks totally fine there for white, but maybe that's the one downside. I guess you could wait. You could just play a move like queen h2, get out the pin. But black might be aiming to break out with d5. So that's the one thing you will have to calculate, whether black's queen is just too active. I think you're right, Danya. I would just get the queens off and kind of worry about the problems later. At least it looks like you've got enough control there. One open file shouldn't be enough to cause too much concern. But no, it's not Vasiligraf style. In like Flynn, queen h7, eyeing up some pawns.
Wow. Quiglet, the queen. Quincy, the queen. I'm trying desperately to think of names that start the Q. Maxime, the queen. Queen h7 is a typical Maxime move. He tries to solve his problems concretely, tactically, because that is his nature as a chess player. He doesn't just want a wimpy queen trade and holding a slightly worse endgame. He wants to end this right here and right now. And I think he might be on the path to doing just that. Queen takes g7, restoring material equality. Rook f1 is a huge threat. The f7 pawn has to be protected. And if you have to play a move like bishop e8, that is not a great sign. I think the one good sign for black is that e5 square can be used by the knight later on. So knight d7, knight e5. If you could get that in, if you could squeeze in that maneuver, then you have some chances to seize the initiative. But Wesley, just as you see the shake of his head, I don't think that he really believes his chances here to win the game are all that realistic. And I don't think that they are either.
Yeah, there's all sorts of tactics in the air. I'm looking at pawn to g6 and giving up a pawn. F takes g6. There might be even bishop takes
queen a7.
Queen a7 ideas.
Look at you.
Force the draw.
What got into you today, David? What did you have for breakfast?
I've been hanging out for you.
Norwegian Cheerios?
Exactly. I've been hanging out with you for the last 3+ hours, Daniel. You've inspired me.
My condolences.
I'm calculating for the first time in my life. That's what's happened. Bishop e8. Yeah, it looks like white has options. Even queen d4, centralize and try to get in that way without any drastic measures. Looks very tempting right now.
And MVL, I'm flattered. I can barely get a word out. I'm blushing, but I think MVL doing the adjustment, right? In the previous game that he lost, his big problem was that he made some of these decisions too hastily. And we did see a slightly sloppy moment here, but I really love his time management in this game, taking time in the right moments, pausing here, maybe calculating g6, and this time going for a simpler approach. Rook to f1 is on the board. Wesley is not just off the board, but he's out of the room. And it's your move, Wesley. That door better open in just a couple of seconds because I'm getting nervous. There he comes. Yeah. Did he put his jacket on? Did he have that jacket on earlier? I don't even remember.
I think he did, at least some point earlier today.
Minnesota, man. Minnesota, really cold state.
Maybe he just had enough of our puns, Danya. He was just like, oh, that's too much. I got to walk out. Like, it's Queen's off the board as well, though. Yeah, he's back at the board. Queens are off the board. What do you make of this transformation? Black has doubled pawns. Often in the Sicilian, that's okay. White has isolated pawns of his own. But does that help or hinder Wesley's winning chances?
I'll put it this way. Not only does Wesley need a miracle at this point, but if a good way to understand what your chances are is if this was not a situation where MVL was satisfied by a draw, would he accept a draw with the white pieces? I think the answer is no. I think in a classical game or even in a rapid game, MVL would want to play this with white. I mean, he's got knight d1, knight e3, knight g4. He can throw in the move g6 at some point and sacrifice the pawn in order to ruin Black's pawn structure, but there's no need to do that because then you're going on to the defensive. Knight d1 is on the board. King to e7, I think, is likely from Wesley just to open up the pathway for the bishop, perhaps from e8 to move to c6 or b5. But I just don't see how he's possibly going to win this game, David. I think we might be, MVL might be knocking on the door of a Division II victory with this excellent knight maneuver.
Yeah, excellent. I love the G4 square. I was actually, because I'm a more passive player, knight B1, knight D2, knight F3, I was thinking where you guard your G-pawn as well as attack the E-pawn. But yeah, of course, G4 much more attractive as a square. And I agree. It feels like more than a minute up now on the clock and with a slightly better position, or at least a slightly easier to handle position. Vasiligraf, he's close. We've been here before, though. He's been close, not just once, to wrapping up this match in the past. So knight e3, I think we're expecting the black bishop to come out and the black knight to drop back to guard on e5 if necessary. Okay, as long as black can get his rook active, then still some chances. So still something to hope for, to play for here for Wesley. So I'm not going to write it off this early. The white bishop, a bit of a bystander right now, still alive.
It would be so unwise indeed to write him off. I'm also being told by the chat that it is a warm day in Minneapolis, 21 degrees centigrade. I didn't know that it ever went above snowing in Minnesota, especially given how cold the Timberwolves have been in the last two games against the Nuggets. Game 5 this evening, unmissable entertainment. I don't know if I peg you as a basketball fan, David, but I'm certainly not a big fan of Wesley's winning chances here. I mean, not only from the clock perspective, he's down 2 minutes, but just how easy White's position is to play. I don't see a source of panic, a way that Wesley can get MVL to make a mistake here. I'm just not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, you said Timberwolves. I was like, wait, is that a band? You said Nuggets. Suddenly I'm hungry. Yeah, I mean, Wesley.
I would love some of those right now. Trust me.
Yeah, Wesley in trouble. How's he going to weasel his way out of this one? I don't see it. The problem is, Daniel, if we just show some variations, he's shaking his head. Bishop c6, I thought originally, knight g4, attacking this pawn. I thought, okay, you just defend. Next move, the black rook gets active, rook g8 or rook h8, but knight h6 shuts the door. Big weakness here, and yeah, he might just have to go passive with a move like rook to f8. Winning chances don't look great there. White will just start to bring his king towards the center.
Maybe you can try the move f6 in this position. I'm just trying to play against this h6 knight. I'm also trying to induce g6 because g6 king f8. And how do you even approach this dilemma from the black side? You need to create some sort of tactical imbalance, right? You create a tactical imbalance. You try to get your opponent to make a sloppy move. So let's see how Wesley handles the situation. Knight g4 is on the board. Knight to d7 is on the board. This is what we were just looking at. And I like that MVL is hesitating, right? Knight h6, f6 has to be calculated, even if the position there is still dead equal. Because if we put this on the board, David, knight h6, f6, g takes f6, we might not even need to put this on the board. I think the players are doing that for us. Rook to g1 is what I was trying to work out. But rook h8, okay. Knight g4, rook g8. And you can wave goodbye to a smooth victory. This is exactly how you blunder this game away. MVL doing the right thing, taking it slow, making sure that he doesn't squander this match with a sloppy move right as he's knocking on the door.
That being said, maybe there's a check. Maybe this holds the balance. And if the king moves, there's knight f7 maybe in the air, or rook g6 coming back. Maybe you're just about holding. Luckily, king f8 walks into some checks, and as does king d6. He's actually gone the other way, Wesley. So he, in this position, played rook f8 defending, and okay, he's gone really passive with the black bishop. This is the current position. What do you make of it?
I actually like this. He's leaving open the door for a potential mistake. I think he calculated f6 really quickly. He figured out that there's no realistic chances there. He's also down 3 minutes on the clock. So if the clock situation were flipped, I would argue that he has realistic chances. MVL has to avoid trying to force things. I think that he basically just needs to sit on the position. So maybe even a move like b4 can be considered. I just said that he shouldn't force the action. And yet I'm suggesting a forcing move. Instead, he's played bishop e2, maybe trying to get the bishop into h5 and tie himself to the f7 pawn. We might get a situation, David, where black simply cannot make any progress, where black is out of useful moves. And again, Wesley needs to win this game. A draw is not enough. He loses the reset with a draw.
Yeah, you need rooks to move diagonally here. You want to plant the rook on g7 where it does a good job defending and it eyes up this isolated pawn. But the long way round, rook h8, rook h7, rook g7, I think was just too slow. So bishop to c6, but it was just on this square. So bishop d3 would repeat.
But bishop h5 also might be winning for white. And MVL should not just automatically repeat moves. He made this mistake in game 2 of the previous match. Of course, now he would be happy with a draw. But if you have a win, there's no reason not to go for it. I think bishop h5 might seal the deal.
Yeah, and black... What happens if black drops back? Not a happy move. Trying to repeat the position, but bishop h5 on the board.
Bishop e8. Is there a tactic? b4 is an option there, just chasing the knight out of c5.
Yeah, just start pushing.
No, this is over. Ugh. Wesley's not winning this game.
Horrible decision there, giving up the f-pawn. Now white has the passed g-pawn. The e5 pawn is attacked. I don't think he wins this in a million years. You're right, Danya. He's fighting for his life, let alone getting the necessary win. Wow, Vasily Grav looks like he's clutched up. He's going to bank it.
That's it. And we might get a draw for, at this point, there's no reason for MVL to decline the draw. It reminds me of Vasily Ivanchuk one time in the World Cup, needing only a draw to advance to the next round, receiving a draw for Manish Giri, and then actually declining it. So if there were FIDE classical rating points on the line, then a draw for refusal would be plausible. Because this is an online game, I think Wesley might be about to offer a draw, and that is tantamount to capitulation in the match, 95. And white is actually winning here. So at this point for Wesley, you might also consider resigning.
Yeah, and knight f5 check. Ooh, can you take?
Okay, takes b4, king e6, king f4. It's winning.
It's winning. I think so too.
It's winning. And MVL has all the time in the world just to sit back, sip on his Cabernet Sauvignon and decide between the pawn endgame, which is winning, and also just bishop f5, king f4, and then knight c4, knight e3, which I think is also probably, at the very least, guarantees a satisfactory result. But I would play knight takes c6. I mean, he's not even risking there, right? Knight c6 and then b4, freezing black's pawns and setting up what in Russian chess vocabulary is called trousers. Right, pass pawns on either side of the board, kind of like pant legs moving up, unstoppable. It's over. What a game. What a smooth performance by MVL. Clutching up, as you said.
Yeah, so impressive and really professional. Good tip for everyone at home when things are changing, when there's pawn endgames in sight, especially stop, calculate, slow down. King f4 is the clincher. Black's king is coming no further. White's going to make a new pass pawn on the queen side. Wesley just walks away. Lets his clock run down. Daniel, what a way to
run down. That is quite a stylish way to capitulate, but of course, Wesley, he is a classy fellow. That is his way of resigning an MVL in convincing fashion. He didn't even need a draw, right? He didn't beg, he didn't grovel. He decided to win the second game, and that means he wins the grand final reset and takes home the Division 2 top prize. What a rebound